Hey everybody, J-Man here with Steve and Sean. We're doing some old school stuff, old school for anyone who's like, 15 years old or whatever. For us, it's new. I love when people say, oh, there's this old movie I watched and it's like from 1995 or something. I'm like, that's not old. It's like, we watch silent films. Okay, anyway. Like I just downloaded Faust or whatever the other day.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Some people have heard of it. We're going to talk about phase one. We're doing the best, the worst, and the most underrated. It's going to be pretty easy for me. The movies that includes are Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, Avengers. So not a lot to choose from in phase one. Phase two will be good. In phase three, there's a lot in phase three. I feel like we may try to break that up because like it's going to be hard, or maybe merge movies, like say Infinity War and Endgame is one movie, or I don't know. We'll figure the logistics out when we get there. Okay, so let's start off with the most underrated. Steve, what do you think?
Well, to start off, I don't really feel that any of the Marvel movies can seriously be called underrated because,
right.
Honestly, Rotten Tomatoes, every single one of them has a fresh rating, which is important. The only one I sort of equate with that is the Pixar movies. The Pixar movies always are loved. Even then, no, I think a few of them aren't. But the MCU movies, unanimously, everyone loves them. So underrated.
What about ones that aren't talked about as much?
Yeah.
That should be talked about more. How about something like that?
So and that's the spirit I'm going with. So it would be for me, Captain America, the first Avenger.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Winter Soldier and Civil War, and that's the ones they talk about when they talk about the Captain America movies. For me personally, the first one is the best. It's his intro. Haley Atwell's in it the most. She's awesome as Agent Carter. Series should have continued, right? What I love about Captain America, and I think I've said this before, is Captain America is one of the few MCU heroes who doesn't have to learn to be a hero. He's a hero even when he's before the experiment, right? He's just awesome to begin with. I love his character. That scene with Stanley Tucci where he's sitting there, he's like, oh, do you want to go and kill Nazis? He's like, no, I don't like bullies. I mean, that's incredible. I love that whole exchange. I like Hugo Weaving as Red Skull. He's pretty good. They introduce Hydra really well in this one. There's some good action scenes. My only criticism would be Captain America actually doesn't stop Red Skull. Red Skull stops Red Skull. He picks up the Cosmic Cube and it melts him, basically. And it would have been satisfying to see that, but you have to understand, Chris Evans is a big dude. He's 6'2" and he's built, right? And Hugo Weaving's this shorter Australian guy. So I kind of questioned if they were ever going to really have a good fight. But it's an awesome film, probably the best intro film for any of the MCU characters, across the board. And Captain America brings a smile to my face, which the other characters don't really do, because again, they have to get over their flaws, or they have to, say goodbye to the past. Captain America is clean. He's a human being we should all aspire to be.
All right, Sean?
I was going to go with Captain America, but it ranks fairly high on people's lists. Because I thought people don't talk about it much either, but I think it's well loved nowadays. And it should be, because it's one of the best ones. And he's one of the few MCU heroes that has his own theme, his own movie theme. Anyway, there is one movie that people don't talk about because it's sort of the ugly duckling of the entire franchise, and that's Incredible Hulk. I think it's underrated. I think it's one of the best ones in phase one, because it's got a lot of adventure to it. I like all the I don't know. I just like all the Marvel-ness of it. I like the Marvel science with those weird cannons and stuff that they shoot at him and everything. There's I feel, and maybe I'm wrong. I feel like there's, well, you know what? I think there's more Hulk in Ang Lee Hulk. But I feel I like the story a lot. I think it just got, swept under the rug because they changed actors. Um, they sort of shunt it to the sidelines because I mean, like, there's no leader. Their leader was going to be that one dude at the end of the movie, and they never brought leader back. They did mention Abomination in the Agents of Shield once. But an Abomination doesn't look great. It's sort of Marvel stumbling out of the gate because it's one of the first two movies, but I feel it still holds up. It holds up better than some of the other movies in Phase One. So I'd say it's underrated.
Well, I'm gonna go with Incredible Hulk. Firstly, I rewatched that. I got 4K version, and I
Oh, wow.
rewatched it. I don't have a 4K TV, so I just rewatched it anyway.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. It would be 10 out of 10 for me, except Abomination does not look correct. Don't call him so you can fix this two ways: re-CGI it, which would probably be very difficult,
He has the gills on the side of his head. Yeah.
or change the dialogue and have it not be Abomination and just rename the guy. Other than that, it's 10 out of 10. It's a big time love letter to the classic Hulks. It's a big time love letter to the Bill Bixby series. Lou Ferrigno is the voice. That is awesome. When I love the Ang Lee Hulk, but Ang Lee Hulk is a movie that has nothing to do with anything other than just being its own little thing. And Steve and I really went deep into that movie on our Gamma Zone episode on it. Yep. Incredible Hulk is freaking awesome. He looks pretty badass. The fights are good. There's maybe more Hulk action in Incredible Hulk only because Ang Lee's Hulk is very long. Incredible Hulk is the perfect length for a Hulk movie. He's trying to cure himself. He's running around. There's some him battling his demons, and he fights a bunch of guys, and he fights the army, and then he fights a guy at the end. This is what a Hulk template is. It's exactly, if you don't like Incredible Hulk, then you just don't want to see Hulk stories, because that
I just want to say one thing. You can sort of see it as a sequel to the Ang Lee Hulk because it starts in the same place that ends off in the last one. Because there's that last scene where Eric Bana is in what is it, Peru or something like that?
He's in some rainforest or something.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. You could probably say it's a sequel.
In my mind, it is a sequel. In my mind, I call it a sequel. I don't know. I absolutely loved it.
It's fun.
I don't know. I loved it. I would have said it's my favorite movie of Phase One, but that would be outrageous considering that my favorite movie is something else, and it's going to be obvious what it is. But well, maybe it won't be obvious what it is. I'll tell you what it's not, and that's Iron Man 2, which I'm going to start off by saying is my worst. That's a Iron Man 2, it's not as awful as Iron Man 3. Spoilers, Iron Man 3 is the worst MCU movie, so that's my worst of whatever phase it is. But Iron Man 2 can be saved with heavy editing. They need to edit out 1 hour of rubbish. Because it starts off strong, man. I like the briefcase thing. I always like silver and red Iron Man, the Silver Centurion style armor. That's from the Marvel role-playing game. So if you're in the role-playing game, black suit Spider-Man, brown costume Wolverine, Silver Centurion Iron Man, I like everything in that game. It starts off good, and Whiplash comes in, you're like, wow, this is pretty good. And then it's just, and Pepper Potts is absolutely awful. I can't stand her. And then Black Widow shows up. I don't know why. Black Widow may as well be this glue stick. As far it's here's Black Widow. I don't care. She's so awful. She doesn't become good till later on. It's slow. The ending battle is I don't know. It's so quickly. It's done. Mm-hmm. It's over so quickly. If you made that movie 80 minutes, then I can accept, just keep all the action and then edit the story as much as you can. But I think it's over 2 hours and it's way long. It's way long. Iron Man 1 was a really fun movie and Iron Man 2 was just crap. Steve, what's your worst?
Oh, it's gotta be Iron Man 2. Like,
Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually recently, how the Iron Man movies, strangely enough, are all about family. Because if you look at the first one, it's the disappointed father, right? The second one is the forgotten brother, and the third one is the rejected son, right? So it's kind of interesting when you put it that way. But Iron Man 2 is just a fail. Iron Man was basically designated the leader of the MCU. Forget
Yeah.
the Avengers, the MCU. He was the first film. Okay, cool. And they make Tony Stark really good. Like he's like Batman, but the wisecracking version of Batman, right? Who everyone knows he's Iron Man, right? So, like, he's obviously set up to be the best. And Sean and I had this discussion how Captain America is the manager. I think this is what Sean said. Captain America is the manager, and like Iron Man's the executive. Iron Man will do what's necessary for the greater good, where Captain America cares more about the people, the employees, and all that. Whereas Iron Man doesn't care. He's just doing things for the greater good, right? But like, my problem with Iron Man 2 is really the Pepper Potts and the Black Widow characters. And even War Machine. He's kind of in there too, because they all go off on him. Like, a thing that's crazy to me is that Iron Man discovers an element. The science is wrong, but he discovers an element in Iron Man 2, and all these people are like, "Oh, Tony, you suck. You can't even run a company and all that." I'm like, he just discovered an element. None of these other characters will ever discover an element. They would never discover the ability to find someone who found an element. So you guys all suck.
Yeah.
Iron Man is actually the best. And all of his like picking on him and all that, it makes no sense to me. It literally makes no sense, because he's the hero and he's going to save the day. Though Marvel does a shocking thing of continuously undercutting Iron Man. Iron Man actually did not beat the villain in part 1, right? He didn't hit the button. That was Pepper Potts. He needs War Machine's help to beat Whiplash. And we'll get to part 3 next time, but we know what happened there. And like, it's just weird, because you have this very powerful character and you don't let him beat the villain. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a miss. And Whiplash is, I don't know why he's there, right? I really don't know why he's there, because Justin Hammer becomes the main villain at some point, and like Whiplash is working for him. And I'm like, this makes no sense. This is Whiplash's story. Why is Justin Hammer taking the lead? So Iron Man 2 is nonsense. And it's my pseudo Batman versus Superman Sean edition, because I've seen it like 7 or 8 times now. Well, it's the same thing, man. I don't know.
I keep wanting it to be good.
Yeah.
I'm like, but Black Widow's in it, War Machine's in it, Whiplash is in it. There's like a big fight at the end. It's like, it has to be good. And then you're like, no, it's not. And then you watch it again and you're like, no, it's pretty good, cool. And then you're like, well, there's like some emotional stuff. You're like, no, everyone's an asshole. It's like, damn, why does this suck? Sean, is it Thor or Iron Man 2?
It was between Thor and Iron Man 2.
Of course.
You know that? No, it's Iron Man 2, man. What the hell? Look, my 2 cents on this is Marvel got very, very good at making movies that set up other things and be entertaining. Iron Man 2 was their first attempt, and it sucks. It's it's funny when it is on TV, like when I'm watching on AMC or something like that, I do sit down to watch the rest of it. And I don't know why, because it is bad, but I like the different compartmentalized parts of it. But it doesn't make a complete whole. But yeah, it's a movie that's setting up Black Widow terribly. She'd be better set up in Avengers later. And all the rest of it, and all, like the whole business where he's watching the movie, and then at the end his dad gives him a secret message and stuff. It's fun, but none of it fits into like one complete piece. And like, you forget that this movie's about like him versus Whiplash. And at the end, is he called Whiplash in it or Backlash? Whiplash, right?
It's Whiplash.
And is it Backlash in the movie or Whiplash?
No, Whiplash.
It's Whiplash, yeah. And then they seem to forget themselves, like, oh God, we gotta wrap this up. So they have this fight that's like a minute
Yeah.
at the very end. It's like, okay, well, and you wasted what's his name who plays I can't remember his name.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke is awesome.
He's
but
awesome.
he's nothing to do. It's like, it's amazing what he does with that script because it's crap and he's great. He's charismatic.
He's good.
If they followed his lead and wrote more things for him and give him an arc and then meet them up in a big epic clash, that would have been awesome. That's not what they do. It's funny to me that people dump on this movie and in the same breath praise Civil War. Civil War is a movie that sets up 100 different movies. There's like there's a whole like a Black Panther arc that has nothing to do with anything, but
Right.
it's an awesome movie. And you know, that's the difference between them being very good at doing that and Iron Man 2 where they're very bad at doing that and they're doing it for the first time. So it shows it's not very good. It could have been better. They'd be better at doing that kind of thing later. It's like setting up other stuff while still telling a great story. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Iron Man 2 is a fail.
Yeah.
On lots of levels. We've beaten it to death. We're gonna
Yeah.
we're gonna beat the crap out of Iron Man 3. Just wait. So for
I'm
me,
looking at phase 2 and yeah, anyway.
yeah,
Right.
that's the worst of phase 2. Spoiler alert.
Well, is it? Oh
Really?
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It is.
there's another runner-up, but anyway, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, my favorite of phase 1 is Captain America, the first Avenger. And obviously it's between that and Avengers. Okay. I always go by the person, the hero. I don't care about Tony Stark, to be honest with you. He's cool, whatever. So I don't care about him. So having a bunch of crappy Iron Man movies doesn't matter to me. I like Tony Stark in every movie that he's in, except for his own movies. Iron Man 1 is okay.
Yeah.
But I don't care about this. I need to learn to be a hero. If we go through the live action DCU, MCU, whatever you're going to be able to pick out my favorite people. Wonder Woman. You know, I want to be a hero. She's a little girl. I want to be a hero. The real Superman, not whatever Zack Snyder does. I want to be a hero right away. Captain America, I want to be in the first 5 minutes. He's standing up to the bullies. He's saying he wants to enlist so he can go and help fight. I'm like, Captain America is the best, period. So Thor is not a hero. He's just a guy doing his thing. This redemption and this, I've got to do, I've got my inner demons. I don't care about your inner demons. I want to see a guy who wants to go out there and fight. I love period movies. I love Rocketeer. Joe Johnston's the director. I love period stuff, Spy Smasher, all those serials. This movie to me is 10 out of 10. The only negative, Steve, you pointed it out, was Captain America kind of doesn't actually kind of, do the finishing blow or whatever to Red Skull, but whatever. They reference the cereal. There's a part where they're showing Captain America doing movies, and he's got and he's punching out Hitler, which is the Jack Kirby, Joe Simon comic. He's got the shield, the triangular kind of shield, which was the Shield character from Archie, and then they got in trouble and they had to get rid of that shield. It's like, I don't know, that movie literally took all the best parts of Captain America, put it together. Haley Atwell is like a dream girl for every person walking the face of every man walking the face of the earth. She's the best. I mean, this is like I don't know. This movie's the best. I smile. Steve said this. I smile when I see Captain America. I feel for him. Captain America dying or aging or anything that happens to Captain America, I immediately feel bad. Like, Doctor Strange is cool, right? Benedict Cumberbatch is a cool guy, right? But if he gets killed or he gets hurt, you're like, well, he'll walk it off or something.
Yeah.
Anything happens to Captain America, I'm like, no. In Infinity War, yeah, where he's holding the gauntlet, and he holds it a little bit longer, and Thanos is like, whoa, like how did he, best. When Captain America almost picks up the hammer, it shakes.
Yeah.
The best. Anything Captain America does is the best. Everyone likes Winter Soldier, Civil War. Civil War is the weakest because it's the least Captain America
Yeah.
interaction, but the first one's the best. It's all Captain America in his element. He's awesome. I like Winter Soldier. It's a good movie, but Captain America captured the best of Captain America. I just can't. Even the 90s Captain America movie, that part where he's like, it's like, I want to stay. He comes in and he's like, and Red Skull's like, oh, an American, and then he's like, oh, he's like standing up for the rights and all that. I'm like, even that got me. I'm a sucker for that. We're not even American. FYI, we're Canadian here, but we're all Canadian. But just Captain America just being awesome is enough. And Chris Evans is the best. That's it. Captain America is the best movie. Prove me wrong or change my mind. Steve, what's your best? It's not Captain America. What is it, Avengers?
It's Avengers. Yeah. To me, it's like, I can't believe, I still to this day can't believe that they did it that well. Like, they took so many characters who were on down sweeps for me. Like, the Thor movie was like, like Iron Man 2 was Like, you got like 3 main characters there who are coming off lows. Well, 4 actually, because Hawkeye was barely in Thor.
Right.
Like, and yet a new Incredible Hulk, but like bringing them all together, I still to this day, I went out and I got the 4K. I still to this day will pop into 4K and watch the Battle of New York. It's one of the best cinematic like battles I think I've seen. I love the score. I love the Avengers theme. The music is incredible. And you know what? This is the only movie to me where Loki it's his true badass self.
Yeah.
Like when he's talking to Black Widow, when he's captured and she's talking to him and trying to get him to admit his plan, and he's like getting angry at her and he's threatening her. I'm like, whoa, this is the Loki I thought we should have.
I know.
Not the jokey anti-hero we ended up getting.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is Loki hardcore. Bringing in Thanos' troop is great. Having Thanos, cameo at the end is great. I just really love the camaraderie amongst the Avengers. It all fits. There's not a part of that movie I don't like. Like literally, it's one of those movies where I could watch it from end to end, even though I go straight to the Battle of New York. I could start, like, you can always tell a great movie by this. If it's on a television and you just have me walking by, no matter what part it is, if you sit down and watch it, you love that movie.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with Avengers.
Sean, Avengers?
It was between Captain America and Avengers. It's funny because you can always, one of the things I admire about the MCU is that you can see the progression, you can see them learning from their mistakes and improving with each movie. And it's great that like the 2 best to me are like the last 2 of phase 1. It's Avengers for me, man. I love Captain America, but like Avengers is weird in that we've seen so many different crossovers since, and they've made 3 other Avengers movies since, and I can still go back to that first Avengers and still get the crossover thrills. It's like we've seen these characters cross over, but I'm still getting the crossover thrills from I think it's because they plus it by living out all the different fantasies, like it's like Thor's hammer versus Captain America's shield, and Hulk versus Thor. What does that look like? All of that cool, and even the characters meeting each other for the first time. Mm-hmm. There's more bonding in this movie than the other ones, and there's great character interaction in the other ones. But it's cool to see like the Science Bros, right? The Banner and Iron Man there. It's like he keeps poking Banner to try and make him the Hulk. It's like, what are you doing? All that stuff is great. I think the actors are most comfortable in this movie. They're ad-libbing a lot, and a lot of great lines come out of that. Like that Galaga thing is Robert Downey Jr. Like ad-libbing that, and then Joss Whedon's like, oh hell, I'll end this scene with a guy like playing Galaga and stuff. It's Joss Whedon at his peak, I think, like peak of his powers, man. Yeah. It's like all the characters shine. Jason, you said it yourself. It's like there's more Iron Man in this movie than the 2 Iron Man movies at that point. It's like everyone is awesome. And you said it yourself, Steve, Loki is awesome.
Yeah.
There's not one wrong note in this movie, and it's funny because, and I said this, I can revisit this and still get the superhero thrills and the crossover thrills. There's some sort of lightning in a bottle that was captured with that movie, that that I don't think can really be repeated, and it's fun to watch. I mean, we always associate that kind of thing with stuff in the past, and so it was great to watch that happen. So yeah, I mean, Captain America is awesome. And I'll say this about Captain America: it proved everyone wrong. It's a lesson that no one has learned since. That you can make a so-called Boy Scout character awesome.
Yeah.
And you knew how to write it. It was great. And that hasn't been repeated since. I mean, everyone complains about Superman. It's like, there's this thing called Captain America that was made like, it was made in like 2010 or something like that. Like, why wouldn't you just do what they did? Like, go by the character, right? But I'd say Avengers edges it out narrowly. I think Avengers is the best of Phase 1.
The only reason why Avengers is slightly lower, and this is something that no factual or arguing is going to change my mind. The reason my mind won't change is that Hawkeye is one of my favorite characters of all time. He was my first of the chibi tattoos that I got. I mainly liked him. You're a kid. I mainly liked him because he looked cool, and I always liked archery. I like Green Arrow. I like Hawkeye. I like the Green Archer cereal. I like Robin Hood. I love bow and arrow stuff. I wanted to take archery in high school. My high school didn't offer it. And I've actually looked into it since. Now everything's closed anyway, but whatever. And Hawkeye to me is not the comic Hawkeye. I can accept the Ultimates version of Nick Fury. I didn't grow up with original Nick Fury, so it doesn't, they took Ultimate Nick Fury, which was basically Sam Jackson in the comics. Captain America is solid. Thor is great. Iron Man is good. Hulk is good. Black Widow, don't care about her. So that's one character that's a little bit lower. And Hawkeye is just, I want the comic book Hawkeye. I want West Coast Avengers and all that. And Hawkeye does not. Black Widow still looks like the comic, even though I don't care about her as much in the movie. Everyone else still is a representation of the comic where you're like, yeah, that's Iron Man. I wish Thor would have his helmet. That's another part that kind of irks me. It's like his helmet is so important. His helmet saved the day in Adventures in Babysitting because she gave the helmet to D'Onofrio. Kingpin, D'Onofrio has been Thor and Kingpin. That's a weird. So Hawkeye is not Hawkeye. I don't like Ultimates Hawkeye or whatever Hawkeye that is. Nothing against Jeremy Renner. I think he could be a good Hawkeye if he was the proper Hawkeye. And the novelty of seeing them all together is high. Having all these people, and Sean, you know this, like Steve, like seeing everybody in live action together fighting is super high. But there's just that one thing I'm like, oh, I just wish it was the real Hawkeye. And I never got the real Hawkeye. I'm never going to be dying over any of these Hawkeye things unless we got the real. And now it's going to be Kate Bishop, who is a fine character. She's okay, but now I'm never going to get proper Hawkeye. So that's something personal to me that nothing is going to change. Objectively, Avengers could be better, but I don't feel it. I feel more for Captain America because I love Captain America the comic. I have a lot of the issues. I never sold them. I still have them. And it was done well. I want to say Loki, we still have time. Loki was the best in Avengers. I really like Loki. I like Hiddleston or whatever. Yeah. I love Thor Ragnarok. I love Thor Ragnarok as a movie, as an adventurous movie like a Flash Gordon or something like that, with this adventure in this faraway land and all that. But Loki becoming this heroic jokester guy is really a kind of a fail.
That's what happens when villains become popular.
Yeah,
that's what happens. That's what happened to Venom.
I know.
That's what happens.
Harley Quinn.
and Steve said this. Loki was such a douche, in that part. He's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna destroy everybody. You'll kneel before me." And like, he's literally talking to that crowd. He's like, "Oh, you guys are a bunch of losers. You're nothing. It's like I own you and all that." You're like, "What a douchebag."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, basically, it's like the Loki show, which is coming, and everyone's cheering for him. You're like, no, what happened? It's like that's one of the faults of the MCU. That's a fault.
Well, it's a good thing they killed Thanos when they did. It's like, he's becoming popular. It's like he'll be one of these things, right?
Yeah.
He kind of became that in the comics, and then they changed that later on. But yeah.
Well, after his big story arc of Infinity War or Infinity Gauntlet,
Yeah.
The way that they ended Infinity Gauntlet, if you haven't read it, it's Infinity War and Endgame have nothing to do with the comics. Convincing Thanos that your plan is like, it's kind of bullshit. Like, what are you gonna do? It's like Thanos just basically like gives up, and Nebula takes the gauntlet and goes crazy for a little bit. And then Thanos gets to be one of the keepers of the stones, of the stones.
Yeah.
And I like that. So it made sense for Thanos in that
iteration
of, but Loki's a douchebag. He's an asshole. Why is he now this good guy? It's just so weird to me. And as cool as he is, he's kind of gone down a little bit, and it sucks to say that, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it's unfortunate, and like I don't like when they make these, like, especially when they're like the Joker, like characters like that. I'm like, come on, guys, like seriously, like the Joker's a lunatic, like he'll kill anyone. I just didn't really like how they went on to make Loki the anti-hero, like, and they're quoting him as that. No, Loki's a villain, man. He's a villain, and he's on best display in Avengers. The Avengers actually has maybe my best, like, if you freeze framed any of the MCU, my favorite shot in any of the MCU movies is when Captain America has the shield and Iron Man uses the repulsors off the shield to hit like the Chitauri around him. I thought that was like the best, like, freeze frame in the MCU. If you're going to freeze frame anything in the MCU, freeze frame that. Like, I love that image. Like, that just talks about how the Avengers had camaraderie. But you're right, it wasn't Hawkeye, right? That's not the Hawkeye I knew as a kid either, right? He had the mask and everything. This is cool Hawkeye. Sure.
It's the only thing.
Hawkeye, the thing is, I like, and once again, this is another lesson that no one else has learned from. The Marvel movies, I mean, look, we're talking about Hawkeye and all that stuff, but for the most part, they really went by what the character was supposed to be and then built stories around that. I mean, that's the strength of Captain America, right? Mm-hmm. And I know everyone piles on, but I'll pile on to Kevin Feige. I mean, as a fanboy who loves these comics, he's really instrumental in this stuff, and it's like, I mean, I know everyone's trying to get their own Kevin Feige, and it's unfortunate that like DC doesn't have one and all that stuff. I love that. Did you read that article about James Gunn calling Kevin Feige when he got the DC job? He called Kevin Feige, and he was like, I'm doing a movie at DC, and rather than be angry, Kevin Feige's like, is it Superman? And he said, no, it's not Superman. It's like it's Suicide Squad. And he's like, you're gonna be so good at that. Oh my God. And he's like freaking out. And it's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he's a guy that like likes all the comics. He wants all ships to rise with the tide.
Yeah.
And I remember his advice to DC when they're starting off with like Man of Steel and all that stuff. It's like, just go with the character, just make the character shine, and then the movie will shine with it. That's what they did with Marvel. Phase 1, they tried that, and they did it. And there's some successes, some failures, but mostly successes. And I really hope that everyone, I mean, it's been years. I don't know why no one else learns that lesson.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes. This is not, I find this absurdly easy. And Sean, you and I, whenever we do these toy shows and we're sitting together for 8 hours, and we
Yeah,
literally
pitch
wrote.
movies, yeah.
Yeah, Sean and I have written every sequel to everything there's ever been. We wrote it in 3 minutes. And then I remember like the Ghostbusters one, which we won't get into, but like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like I literally, you and I wrote that in like 1 minute. And I'm like, how is this just not the movie? And it's like, what is it's like Superman. We're doing a Superman movie. What is the most obvious thing you want to do? I don't know, make him a superhero. He goes around, saves people. In the meantime, there's some global disaster that's going to do something and he has to stop that global disaster. Well, that's just a generic Superman story. Why don't we get into the depth of his soul and what is he thinking? Well, what he's thinking is he wants to be a hero and save people. No, but what is he really thinking? No, that is what he's thinking.
But there's a lot to do. It's like you want to set up Superman. Superman saves a black guy from almost being shot at by a cop. Everyone's like, oh yeah, and it becomes political. He goes in front of a court of law to testify as to why he obstructed justice. And then in that trial in the recess, there's Klan people like protesting outside, and there's like a fire in some guy's car and he can't get out of the car. So Superman saves that Klan's person. It was like, what the hell? What are you not with these guys? And then Superman's like, listen, I'm for everybody. Like what the like if you want to set up personality, there's a lot of great ways to do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, there are a lot of great scenarios. I don't know what they're doing with Superman. He's like a grouchy grump in these other movies.
Yeah,
man.
I know.
He's like, that's not Superman. Yeah.
I know he needs to save like everybody, and yeah, they're never going to do something like that because there's too many people who aren't thinking of the character, and this is the point everyone makes. It's like they're thinking of what they want to say. Like Zack Snyder's like, what do I want to say through the character of Superman? We don't want your Superman. We want our Superman. And Donner understood that. That movie is still like not exactly mega accurate to say that was this comic book or whatever. It's just Superman. He's like, what are you? Who are you? I'm a friend. I'm a friend to humanity. That's
how you articulate Superman, and they did that.
They did that.
So,
I mean,
and I want to say one thing about Superman the movie is that like people like, well, it's cheesy. It's like you can't do that. It's like in the 70s, everyone was cynical as hell. We just went. I mean, they just went through Nixon, and in the Carter years, I mean, imagine a time where you can't even fill up your gas, your car, and that was the 70s. There was the gas crisis and everything. It was horrible. Everyone was cynical. They still made that Superman movie, and everyone loved it.
Yeah.
They still inserted him into that horrible reality. What's the problem?
We're trying to escape reality and watch a good movie that makes us feel good. We don't want to think about this character and let's dissect him and let's watch his father die in front of his eyes. How stupid is that? 1 minute, Steve. Anything else to add on?
Yeah, I just agree. Like there's too much going on where people are more worried about the political message they're making instead of just focusing on the narrative, telling a good story, and letting the story speak for what you think. Instead of trying to like shoehorn it where it doesn't belong. And it's not just Marvel or it's not just DC movies or anything like that, or Marvel movies or anything. It's movies, general.
And shows. It used to be show, don't tell. Like you're almost to the point where in Doctor Who, like they'll turn and be like, pollution is bad. You're like, oh my God. Dude. Okay, we're going to wrap up there. This was good. I'm excited for phase 2. There's lots of phase 2. But all right, guys, thanks so much for watching. We will see you next week.